Picture this. You're sitting in a park on a quiet afternoon when a woman walks by and takes a seat right next to you. Her skin is white as snow. Her hair is silver and curly. Her eyes are a piercing blue. She tells you her name is Abarash and that she's from a tribe in sub-Saharan Africa. Then it hits you. She's a black woman with albinism. She takes your phone and types her number with her left hand. Then your alarm goes off. It was just a dream. But here's the question that stays with you long after you wake up. Does a person like that actually exist? Statistically speaking, yes. And that answer opens up something far more fascinating. Out of 8 billion people alive on this planet right now, what would the rarest possible human being actually look like? How rare can one person truly get? If that question got your mind racing, hit that like button and subscribe, because we're just getting started. And the numbers we're about to break down will genuinely leave you speechless. Drop a comment below telling us, do you think you have any rare trait? You might be more unique than you know. To even begin building the rarest human possible, we have to start at the very foundation where they come from. And when you look at the full picture of human diversity, the scale is almost hard to wrap your head around. There are roughly 7,000 distinct ethnic groups on Earth, 7,000 different cultures, languages, traditions, and bloodlines, each carrying their own story across generations. But here's where it gets interesting. Most of humanity is packed into just a handful of those groups. The Han Chinese alone account for about 18% of the entire global population. That's more than 1.4 billion people from a single ethnic group. Think about that for a second. Nearly 1 in 5 humans on this planet shares the same ethnic origin. Now flip that completely. On the opposite end of that spectrum, there are groups so small they're almost invisible to the rest of the world. The Sentinelese of the Andaman Islands, a people who have chosen total isolation for thousands of years, are estimated at somewhere between 50 and 400 individuals. The Kawahiva, deep in the Brazilian Amazon, are thought to number fewer than 30 people. The Spinifex people of Australia counted only around 200 at their last known census. These are entire human lineages, entire ways of seeing the world, carried by just a handful of living people. For our rarest human, we place their origin inside one of these groups. Using a conservative population of 500 people within a world of 8 billion, that's already a 1 in 16 million probability just to be born into that lineage. And we're only getting started. Now we add the next layer. Our person doesn't just come from one of the smallest ethnic groups on Earth. They also carry a condition that sets them apart in the most visually striking way imaginable. They have albinism. And to understand just how rare that is, you first need to understand what's actually happening inside their body. Albinism is a genetic condition caused by mutations in the genes responsible for producing melanin, the pigment that gives color to your skin, your hair, and your eyes. In a person with complete albinism, that entire production pathway is either severely reduced or completely shut down. The body simply cannot make the color it was designed to create. The result is something that genuinely stops people in their tracks. Skin that appears almost white. Hair that grows in silver or pale tones, sometimes with a soft, luminous quality that feels almost otherworldly. And eyes that shift between light blue, gray, or even a faint pink, depending on how light passes through an iris that carries no pigment at all. Now picture that in a person from one of the most isolated communities on the planet. The contrast alone is breathtaking. Globally, albinism occurs in approximately 1 in 20,000 people. When you combine that with the ethnic probability we already established, the numbers begin to climb into territory that's hard to fully grasp. We're now looking at a 1 in 320 billion chance of this person existing. That's not a typo. 320 billion, and we haven't even touched the eyes yet. Most people, when they think about rare eyes, think about green, and they're not wrong to be impressed. Only about 2% of the global population carries that color, roughly 1 in 50 people. It feels special. It feels unusual. But compared to what we're about to add to this person's profile, green eyes are practically common, because what our person carries is something on a completely different level. Complete heterochromia. 2 eyes of entirely different colors. One eye, one shade. The other, a completely different one. Not a subtle variation, not a fleck of color inside the iris, but 2 fully distinct colors looking back at you from the same face. It's the kind of thing that makes people stop mid-sentence and just stare. And the cause goes all the way back to birth, an uneven distribution of melanin during early development where one eye receives a different pigment signal than the other. The result is a face that looks like it belongs to two different worlds at once. Complete heterochromia affects approximately 1 in 1,667 people. When we fold that into everything we've already built, the accumulated probability shoots to a number that starts to feel almost fictional. But we're not done yet, because this person also writes with their left hand. Around 10% of the global population is left-handed, but that number is artificially inflated by centuries of social pressure. That forced naturally left-handed people to switch. The brain's natural lateral dominance toward the left is genuinely less common, and in isolated communities, that pressure often runs even deeper. Add that 1 in 10 to everything else, and our total now sits at 1 in 5.33 quadrillion, a number so large it doesn't fit comfortably inside the human mind. And yet, we still have more traits to add. Here's something that will genuinely change the way you think about human perception. Every single person watching this right now sees color through 3 types of cone cells in their eyes, one sensitive to red, one to green, one to blue. That combination allows the average human brain to distinguish roughly 1 million different colors. 1 million sounds like a lot, until you realize that some people are seeing a world that the rest of us literally cannot access. Tetrachromacy is the presence of a 4th type of cone cell, sitting between the red and green receptors and picking up wavelengths that fall completely outside normal human vision. The result, up to 100 million distinct colors. That's not a slight upgrade, that's a completely different visual reality. Shades that appear identical to everyone else in the room revealed themselves as entirely separate colors to a tetra. It's like everyone else is reading a book with 3 letters missing from the alphabet, and they never even knew those letters existed. Now here's the biological twist that makes this even more fascinating. Tetrachromacy is tied to the X chromosome, which means it occurs almost exclusively in women. Men typically carry only one X chromosome, so a mutation on that chromosome directly affects their vision, usually resulting in color blindness, not enhancement. Women with 2 X chromosomes can carry the mutation on one while the other compensates, creating the conditions for that rare 4th cone to develop. Around 12% of women carry the genetic variant, but carrying it is not the same as having functional tetrachromacy. The brain must also learn to process those extra signals, which drops the true probability to around 1 in 80,000. And our person has it, which means they're already seeing things you and I will never see. And we're still not close to finished building this profile. Most of us forget. We forget what we had for lunch 3 Tuesdays ago. We forget the exact words someone said to us during an argument that changed everything. We forget the small, quiet moments that made up most of our lives. That forgetting, as painful as it sometimes feels, is actually a gift, a way the brain protects itself from being crushed under the weight of every single experience it has ever had. But what happens when that protection is simply absent? Hyperthymesia, also known as highly superior autobiographical memory, is a condition where a person can recall virtually every day of their life in extraordinary detail. Not just the big moments, not just birthdays and losses and turning points, but ordinary Wednesdays, unremarkable afternoons. The specific feeling of a random Tuesday in March 15 years ago. The brain doesn't filter, doesn't compress, doesn't let go. It holds everything permanently in full resolution. The most documented case in medical history belongs to Jill Price, a woman who first contacted researchers in 2000 describing what she called an overwhelming, uncontrollable ability to remember. She could be handed any date and immediately recall the day of the week, the weather, what she was doing, what she felt, what was on the news. For Jill, it wasn't a superpower, it was exhausting. She described it as living with a split screen permanently open in her mind, the past always playing alongside the present. Fewer than 100 confirmed cases of hyperthymesia exist in the entire world. The estimated probability sits at around 1 in 16 million. Our person carries this to a mind that records everything, forgets nothing, and experiences time in a way no one around them could ever fully understand. Let's bring it all together. One person, from one of the most isolated ethnic groups on Earth, with albinism giving them near-white skin, silver hair, and pigmentless eyes, with complete heterochromia, 2 entirely different eye colors, left-handed with a brain wired against the statistical majority, tetrachromatic vision, seeing 100 million colors in a world most of us experience in a fraction of that. And hyperthymesia, a memory that records every single day, every conversation, every ordinary moment, without ever letting go. Now, what does that number actually look like? 1 in 6.83 septillion, that is the final accumulated probability of this person existing. Not billion, not trillion, not quadrillion, septillion. A number so far beyond everyday human comprehension that even saying it out loud doesn't fully land until you put it next to something real. The entire observable universe contains an estimated 1 septillion stars. Every burning, ancient, incomprehensible star across every galaxy we can detect. And our number is still nearly 7 times larger than that. And if you tried to count it in grains of sand, Earth's entire surface wouldn't come close. You would need the combined grains of 910,000 planet Earths to even reach this number. This person doesn't just beat the odds. They exist in a category of probability that the universe itself has barely room for. And here's what makes this hit differently. We didn't even factor in rare blood types, physical mutations, neurological variations, or cognitive outliers. Every single layer we could add would push that number further into the impossible, which means every person watching this right now is already carrying their own version of that number, their own set of traits, combinations, and biological accidents that have never existed before and will never exist again. You don't need albinism, heterochromia, or a memory that never forgets to be statistically irreplaceable. The exact combination of everything you are, your biology, your history, your mind, the specific way you experience the world has never existed before in the entire history of this universe. That's not motivation, that's just math. You already beat odds that make septillions look small simply by being here. If this video made you feel something, if something in this story spoke directly to you, comment, "I received this right now." Let that be your reminder that you are not an accident. And if you made it all the way to the end, subscribe to this channel, because what we build here is exactly for people like you, people who think deeper, feel more, and want to understand what makes existence extraordinary. Leave a like if this shifted something in you, and watch the next video on screen right now, because what comes next will take everything we just explored even further.